कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna everyone. Hare Krishna. Can all unmute, I think. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna. So beautiful. Krishna.
So beautiful, na?
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
I really feel like keep looking at.
They're so lively, no, Mataji? Yeah.
Very nice.
Jnanatimirandasya jnananjanashalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasheta Deshatarini. Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Namo Brahmana Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Te Namaha. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanasute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrindi ki jai, Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna everyone.
Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. All of you can unmute once. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay. So it's their obeisances to Sri Radha Govind, ISKCON deities, Mangaluru. And, so today we are on day 18, Moksha Sanyasa Yoga. So today we'll be doing the part 1 of it, and tomorrow we will do the conclusion. Tomorrow we'll conclude. So it's based on the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chapter 18, the perfect renunciation, Moksha Sanyasa Yoga. So actually the Bhagavad Gita ends at chapter 17. So what is in chapter 18 is of the summary of whatever we have learned so far. So quickly we will see what we learned in each chapter. So the chapter 1 was basically there was not, there is no words. Krishna didn't speak in the chapter 1. So it's all about seeing the army, right? And then Arjuna gives up that he cannot fight by seeing the that he sees that on the opposite side he has his all relatives, and he gives 5 reasons and he quits that he cannot fight. And then in after he surrenders in chapter 2, Krishna takes the role of a spiritual master, and then he starts speaking and he answers all the 5 questions of Arjuna. What are the 5 reasons which Arjuna gives that he cannot fight? Can anyone tell what are the 5 reasons?
Family tradition,
Hmm.
because he didn't want to fight with his own kith and kin.
Yeah, and then
And then
is anyone else? Can unmute. I have not muted anyone. Anybody can answer. Yes.
No enjoyment,
Yes.
compassion,
No enjoyment,
his
compassion, family tradition,
compassion. Yes.
compassion,
Family
he was
tradition.
nervous,
And then
his body was trembling.
yeah, that's all because of the compassion, right? And then
Compassion.
sinful, and then indecisiveness. Okay. So these are the reasons which Arjuna gives, and Krishna clarifies all this, and basically more on the soul we learned in the chapter 2, right? And all, so Krishna actually answers all the questions in chapter 2 itself. But then for deeper understanding for everyone, then Arjuna goes on clarifying the like very minute things, right? From chapter 3, we learn about the Karma Yoga. So Krishna, when he gets the soul knowledge, so Arjuna wanted to know whether it is better to take up spirituality and should I leave all the work. Then Krishna never encouraged that, right? He said only you have to renounce the fruit of the action, not the activity. And then in Karma Yoga, after that we learned in chapter 4 was Jnana Yoga, where we understood how the Bhagavad Gita knowledge first, it was not like 5,000 years back. That's what was our understanding initially, that this knowledge was given to Arjun. But Lord says that this was said long back in 120 million years ago to Sun God, Vivaswan, right? And then he explains all the and what was the need to tell now again because the knowledge was lost. So after that, um one has to submit to the in the end Krishna says one has to submit to spiritual master, right? To because he has seen the truth, one has to submit and submissively understand this knowledge from a spiritual bona fide spiritual master. And then again chapter 5 is about again karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. So we saw like a story of King Riga, right? Like even after doing so much pious activities, one small mistake and he had to be born like a lizard, right? So that is not recommended. Working even on the pious platform is also is binding. So working on any for fruitive activities, that is again a binding. So then in chapter 6 it's about the dhyana yoga. So how to do ashtanga yoga. So basically what is yoga? Anyone tell what is yoga? What is your understanding of yoga? So all the chapter says yoga. So what is it?
union,
Connecting the
Union with
connecting the soul with super soul.
yes. Yes, so connecting union, yes, both are right. So union, we are actually connecting to the God, right? So that is the whole purpose of the yoga that we understood. So it is not like part I do and part like one part of it I do. No, it is like all the procedures, all the yogas, yama, niyama, pranayama, pratyahara, right? Everything has to be done, and then it has to connect to the god, then only it is called as yoga. Then Arjuna, and then but one thing we are seeing in all the chapters when concludes, Lord says that devotional service is the highest. So end of chapter 6, Krishna says that Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo matah. So of all the yogis, so who is devotionally, worshipping the Lord, right? He is to be considered the highest. Krishna says that of all the yogis, so whoever with all devotion worship the Lord, he is to be considered the highest. And then from chapter 7 to chapter 12, basically on bhakti, complete pure devotional service, and we like how there are different methods which are, especially in the chapters 12, Krishna goes on giving different options. If not Ananya Bhakti, then you can do Sadhana Bhakti, and if Sadhana Bhakti also we cannot do, then one can take up the Nishkama Karma Yoga, and if not Nishkama Karma Yoga, then do Sakama Karma Yoga, where some portion of our earnings we give to the Lord. That is Sakama Karma Yoga. And then comes the Jnana, Dhyana, and renunciation of fruitive activity. So these are the orders which Krishna gives in chapter 12. So so in the chapter, from chapter 7 is about devotion, and then again in the chapter, we saw the energies of the different energies of Lord, how we can see the Lord in different things, right? And then in the chapter 8, we saw art of dying, right? Art of dying, like how one has to prepare oneself for leaving this body. So Akshara Brahma Yoga we saw in this chapter. And then in the chapter 9, it was about the Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Yoga. So the famous words, like the three confidential things we learned from that chapter. So what are the three confidential things that is there in Bhagavad Gita? First one is that I am not body, I am soul. So second is Lord is there as Paramatma in everyone's heart. And third is that so there is a spiritual world. So Krishna does his pastimes in the spiritual world. So he ends with saying, Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayana. So all that, Krishna says how one can meditate upon Lord. So always think of me, worship, pay obeisances to me, and then you will come back to me, Krishna says. And then in the 10th chapter, Krishna explains all about the opulences. So 82 opulences we saw, like how we can see Krishna, even if an impersonalist who don't believe in the form of the Lord, he can also, right? Even in the water and in the mountains, whatever we see, there is a representation of Krishna. It represents Krishna, right? Rasoham apsu kaunteya, Krishna says. And he is a Om in Vedic mantras, and so many things he explains in the chapter. And then the 11th chapter is about Vishwarupa Darshana. So that one, Arjuna asked for benefit of everyone, so that it is not that he already accepted. In the 10th chapter, Arjuna accepts Lord as as God, right? He was thinking all the time that Krishna is his friend, and then he accepts as a spiritual master in chapter 2. But then in the end, in the chapter 10, he understands after seeing the opulence that he is not an ordinary person. He is a Lord himself. Then he says, Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devamajam Vibhum. You are the oldest of the old, and you are the Adi Purusha. And he accepts that everything, whatever you said is right, and he accepts him as the supreme personality of Godhead. But then what was the need of showing the Vishwarup? Because in Kali Yuga, he knows that there will be a lot of imposters who would say themselves as Lord, right? So to set a criteria that how a God should be, right? If somebody claims themselves as God, then we can ask, please show your Vishwarupa, right? So that is the thing. So, but that is a material. That is not a real form. Prabhupada says that is only available in the material sky. This Vishwarupa is not to be seen in spiritual sky. So it is not a spiritual one. And then, so in chapter 12, Bhakti Yoga, complete Bhakti we saw. And then in the chapter 13 to 18, it is all about knowledge, right? Knowledge. So what did we learn in chapter 13? More of the field the Kshetra, Kshetragna, and the Kshetra, Kshetragna, and material world, right? Prakriti, Purusha, and all this we learned about soul, super soul, and the field of activities, and these things we learned in detail. And chapter 14 was all about uh, uh, three modes of nature. So how one performs, like what will be the how to identify a person by his action, right? In all the modes, like if somebody based on their food preferences, and based on their all the different references, how the performance, and the sacrifice, how one does. I mean, so everything we can identify based on these three modes the person is situated in. So what are these three modes? But Krishna says that uh, anyone who surrenders to Krishna can easily come out of these three modes, and they can be established in the Shuddha Sattva Guna, which is called as pure mode of goodness. And in the chapter 15, Krishna explains about this material world, and he gives us the introduction to spiritual world, that there is something called spiritual world. And Krishna says that this material world is nothing but a reflection of spiritual world, and everything in the material world is perverted. So if there is a love in material world, if spiritual world, that becomes lust here, right? So there we don't have in spiritual world Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi, but we have it here. And that is always eternally happy, blissful people live there. But here we are always in troubled condition, and we are unhappy, and there is no constant happiness is not found in the material world. So Krishna says it is dukkhalayam ashashvata. So then we saw, but how to be in this world and not get attached. So Krishna says it is with the detachment and practice one can detach these roots of this tree, right? And not engage in fruitive activities. Then one can cut down this attachment towards the this world. So after that, in chapter 16, the Lord explains again the fruits of this tree of this material world. So and then how one person, when engaged in pious activities, he'll be called as a divine, or he develops a divine qualities. But then when he falls down and he engages himself in the demoniac activities, then he is called as demon. So we saw in detail about that in chapter 16. And chapter 17, we saw divisions of faith. That was also again based on three modes. So now in 80, so it's like a conclusion, like again. So Moksha Sanyasa Yoga. So renunciation and Sanyasa, right? So Arjuna Uvacha Sanyasasya Mahabhaho Tattvam Ichchami Veditum Tyagasya cha Rishikesha Pratakkeshi Sunan Nishudana. Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, Tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, Sannyasa, O killer of Keshi demon, master of the senses. So basically, Arjuna wants to again, he want to know the two things here. One is renunciation, because Krishna has always been speaking about renunciation. So what is that purpose of renunciation? And then the renounced order, that is sannyasa. So Krishna is being, so actually Prabhupada says this renunciation is not for everyone, right? You have to be really purified for taking sannyasa. Yeah, if somebody is not really, heart is not purified, then one should not take the sannyasa. Whatever order of life we are in, we have to do the spiritual, because Krishna never asked Arjun that leave the war and go to forest and fight, right? He always said, do your duty, remember me, and then do your duty. So this is for so any ashramas of life, one can do the one has to do the, what is renunciation means. So tyaga is nothing but giving up the fruit of activities, right? So sannyasa means giving up the material desires. So Krishna, in the coming verses we will see that. So Rishikesha means one who is a master of all senses. So he is addressing him so that he can bring some mental peace to Arjun. And he calls the Keshi Nishudana, because Arjuna is having the doubts which are still arising, right, again and again. So Krishna has killed the gigantic demon, this Keshi demon. So the doubts that are arising to Arjuna is compared to this demon. So he's saying, just like how you killed the demon, please kill the clarify my doubts. So Sri Bhagavanuvacha Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sanyasam kavayo viduhu sarvakama palatyagam prahustyagam vichakshanaha. The giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyasa, and giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation. So Krishna is defining here what is renounced or what is sannyasa. So sannyasa is not like leaving everything and going to forest, but then what Rupa Goswami also says, yuktahara viharasya yukta karmasya. Sorry, I mean, not that, not yuktaharasya. This one. I mean, everything you have to dovetail. I mean, within the Krishna's work. What is that shloka? Sarvopal. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjataha nirbandhe Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagyam uchyate. So it is not like giving up everything and going to forest and meditating on Lord. No, you have to be here, and but then same time utilize everything in worship of Lord. So here Krishna is telling, giving up the activities based on material. So the devotees like Prabhupada, right? I mean, so many devotees, they work for the Lord, but they are not working. They seem to be working like other people, but they are not doing for their sense enjoyment. They don't have any material desires. So that is called a sannyasa, not really like taking up or putting somebody wearing a saffron. That doesn't mean he is a sannyasi. And giving the results of all activities. So one should not like whatever, like even in the Vedas it is mentioned so many pujas to be performed, and for that they get some benefit, right? Somebody wants to have a nice son, or someone to have a good wife, so that there are so many yajnas, but then those are all again like a fruitive activities. So it is like desiring something. So so here Krishna is saying one should not desire for any results of activities. That is called as real sacrifice. You do your work without expecting any result. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty. Yet another sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. So the Lord continues that there is a difference of opinion between saintly people. Like some sages say that one has to perform the fruitive, like example, like animal sacrifice. Some say that this animal sacrifice is needed because it is mentioned in the Shastras, and as per Shastras, sometimes the animal immediately gets the next animal life. He'll be promoted to next, and then otherwise sometimes he can get a human life after the sacrifice. So that is necessary, they say. And some say that is not good because killing animal is sinful activity. So there is a confusion. So Krishna is going to clarify it. Of west of the Bharatas, now here my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kinds. So based on the kind of renunciation a person does, so that is divided as it is the renunciation in, is it in goodness, is it in passion, or is it in ignorance, mode of ignorance. So the Lord says, sorry, by all the Veda, sorry, not that. So the Lord says that the process of renunciation should be considered in terms of modes of material nature in which it is performed. So in Vedas, as we know, like so many Vedas is considered as the laws given by the Lord, right? there are so many rules and regulations, how one should live in this material world, right? And how one can elevate oneself. So basically, it is like a gradual elevation. So finally, the devotional service is the end. Like to know the Lord is the end. Vedascha sarve rahameda vedyo, Lord says. But so when here Prabhupada writes, like, what is the need of reading all those Vedas when the Lord directly is coming and telling Arjuna? So just we have to take the message directly from the Lord, whatever he is telling, right? There's no need to go to the Vedas. So yajna dana tapa karma natyajam karyameva tat yajno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed indeed. Sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. So this acts of sacrifice is never recommended to be given up. So what are the different sacrifices for different yuga? What is for Satya Yuga? Satya Yuga, what is the sacrifice? Dhyana, yes. And Treta Yuga? You can post in chat also. For Treta Yuga?
Yagya.
Yajna. And then for Dwapara Yuga?
Temple worship.
Elaborate temple worship. And then for Kali Yuga?
Chanting of Mahamantra.
Chanting, yes.
Yes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So these sacrifices should never be given up, even for the who are already in the transcendental plane, right? So Krishna is telling that sacrifice, charity, and penance, because that purifies us. Because slowly when we start giving charity, so more we start giving, and then we understand our real position to the Lord, right? That is the reason we have to give by different different karmas is explained by the Lord, right? Nishkama karma and all sakama karma, because a kind of giving. So, and then finally, then we will be ready to give it to the Lord, everything. So here, this is Daksha, King Daksha. His daughter Sati. Okay, Sati was married to Lord Shiva. So once what happens, he never respected Lord Shiva, because he considered that he lives in a graveyard, and he never had respect towards his son-in-law, that Lord Shiva. And then once he does a big yaga, and then he does not keep the they are supposed to keep a separate place, like for his for Lord Shiva. The sacrificial seat, like where all the devatas are present, but for Lord Shiva he doesn't keep. And then actually Lord Shiva knew him, and he wants Sati that not to go to. Sati sees that everybody are going, all the everybody from the heaven, they are all going to his father's her father's place for a big sacrifice. Then she says that I would also like to go. Then Shiva wants her that she shouldn't go, but then she says that you don't have invitation, he says. Then she says that for my father's house I don't need an invitation, and then she goes there. But then she sees that there was no seat provided for her husband, and then she feels and he also, not just that, he blasphemes the Lord Shiva, and she couldn't hear that. She says that this body which is given by her father, she no more wants to keep it. So she jumps into the sacrifice and she gives her life. And then Lord Shiva comes to know, and he gets angry. And then he comes and he just cuts his head, Daksha's head. So then everybody starts praying, because the sacrifice is so important. It shouldn't be stopped. It is not good for people in general. So this sacrifice is done for everyone, for people in general, to uplift them. For well-being of all of them. So then they all pray to Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu comes and he asked to he convinces the Lord Shiva, and then he was given a goat head. The Daksha was given a goat head, and the sacrifice continues, right? So this was the so after that the sacrifice continues. So this is the this also here we can understand that soul is not in the head, right? Even after his behavior didn't become like a goat even after getting a goat. Even we know like Ganpati, right? Ganesha. So but because the soul is present in the heart, and yes, so these penances should never be given up. All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, O son of Pritha. That is my final opinion. So any activity should be, one has to perform without attachment, right? Here we can see like monkey warriors helping Lord Ram in building the Ram Setu. So one should not, a devotee of the Lord should accept any kind of work, sacrifice or charity which will help him in discharge of devotional service of the Lord. So this is from the Prabhupada's purport. So here the three shlokas, what it describes them in the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, and mode of goodness. So if a person rejects the prescribed duties, right? He just give up all the duties and he says, no, now I have to do spirituality, so I don't want to take care of my family. I want to give up everything, right? Then that means he is in a illusion. So that is called as mode of ignorance. And what is mode of passion? If person does not do prescribed duties, maybe because of fear, he's afraid, so he is not able to he's not having a I mean in the conditions at home or in the office is not good. So because of that fear of the responsibility, then he's leaving that prescribed duties, then he's said to be in mode of passion. And then if but when a person is in mode of goodness, he will do the prescribed duties. So he does it out of a duty, not that he is getting anything out of it. But because he has to do it, it is prescribed in the Shastras, he does. So that is in mode of goodness. O mighty armed Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for 1 second. Okay. And Arjuna, according to Vedanta, there are 5 causes for accomplishment of all action. Now learn of these from me. The place of action, the body, performer, the various sense, many different kinds of endeavor, and ultimately super soul. These are 5 factors of action, right? So basically, any work to be done, when whatever work we take, right? So it needs 5 factors to get the accomplishment. What are they? Like, first is the place of action. We need a place, and then comes the person, right? We need people who are going to do it, and the various senses, right? So many, all the senses are involved to accomplish the work, right? And then different endeavors. Endeavors means for establishing a factory, so many things has to be done, right? So getting a certification from government, so many things for establishing, right, ISO certificate, this, that, so many things will be there. So all that endeavors for establishing. And then there should be a sanction of the Supreme Lord. So if everything is there, so many times we see like some marriages, like everybody or like on the bride side, bridegroom side, everybody, everything is ready, and the hall is ready, everything is ready, all are okay, but then that marriage does not happen for some reason, because there won't be approval from the Lord. And this corona time, right? So many marriages stopped, or these things happened. Why? Because there was no approval of the Lord. So here also the another example. So there is a sari shop, right? So if we that is you can take that as the place of action, right? And then the performer, like the buyer and the seller is the performer, right? And then the various senses. So various, they have to, if a sale has to happen, then the person has to see that, touch and feel if it is good or not, the sari or the cloth, right, before taking. So the various senses are involved, they have to see it, so before buying. So the senses are involved. And then the endeavor. So what is the endeavor? If a shop has to get a good sale, then it has to be, he has to choose the marketplace, and he has to do a lot of advertisements, right? So that so many customers come to him. That is the endeavor that he has to take. And then finally the sanction of the Supreme Lord. So we see, like, sometimes very small shop, there are so many customers, but they'll be very posh and very big shopping malls also. Sometimes people won't be there, right? So that is because of the Krishna's approval is not there. So Tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tu yaha pashyati akarta buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. So many a time people think it is because of my education and because I have so much money, I could do this, right? People really forget that there is also God, and without his approval, even a blade of grass cannot move, right? It is said. So nothing can happen. But then people may get doubt, like, so okay, so many bad things happen, then why? No. But then, because Krishna, why does he grant? Because the desire of the soul, whatever is the soul is there, Krishna is only doing is upadrashtanu mantacha, right? He is a seer. The Paramatma is a seer and a grantor. So it is, he is not doing any action. It is only the soul desires, and the action happens. But then we have that free will always, right, to decide what is right and what is wrong. So the knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the 3 factors that motivate action. The senses, the work, and the doer are the 3 constitution of action. So any work, right, any work, this has the 3 aspects: the knowledge, the object of knowledge, and knower. So if anything, like one has to, like, before we start any work, on the thinking level, we have to think, right? First, thinking, feeling, and willing. So that is called as impetus. So we have to think before doing anything. Now this boy, he has to do a goal, right? Then he has to think about it, right? So think how, I mean, he has to gauge where exactly he has to hit. And these things, subtle things, this happen on a psychological level. So before doing, just like that, one cannot perform. Even while cooking, right? Anything we are cooking, we have to think before, what am I going to prepare? What are the things needed? And these things. So, and then the action, then the object is required. So that is the, and then the knower, the person who does it. So these things are required for any action. So this is a self-assessment. You all can take a paper and pen. Okay. You can, following are the slides, rate yourself from 1 to 3 based on which category you fall, and 1 being the lowest and 3 being the highest. So after few slides, you can know, you can count it and see where you stand. Okay. Just take a pen and paper. You need not tell me the scores. This is for your own self-assessment. Okay, let's go. So 3 kinds of knowledge based on modes of material nature. That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all existence, undivided in the divided, is knowledge in mode of goodness. So this person, when he is in a mode of goodness, he is able to see the the person is not as a spirit soul, not as a he is not identifying somebody as a from their body or bodily features, or is not differentiating between an animal and human, right? So that is a spiritual nature. So that is called as in mode of goodness. So it will take, I mean, it is not very easy, right? It is like a Brahman level. So And then that knowledge by which a different type of living entity is seen to be dwelling in different bodies is knowledge in the mode of passion. So he is able to see the differentiation, like I'm a human being, so this is a dog and this is a cat. Like we have the differentiation, or we have that is a wild animals, like that differentiation is there. So that is called as mode of passion. And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all without knowledge of truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. So he only knows that I am this body and I am here to enjoy my senses. So this person is to be in mode of ignorance. So all of you have put which one? This is 3, this is 2, and this is 1. We go to the next one. Okay. So this was just saw. So a person who sees one spirit in every living being, whether a demigod, human being, animal, bird, beast, aquatic, or plant, possess knowledge in the mode of goodness. So this is the mode of goodness. And then this person is able to see, this is a mode of passion, that knowledge by which one sees in every different body, there is a different type of living beings, right? So it is mode of passion. So this is mode of ignorance. Sorry. Okay, mode of ignorance is not there. Okay. Yeah, this is mode of ignorance. So for that person, money is everything. So knowledge means satisfaction of bodily demand. Such knowledge has no connection with absolute truth. It is more or less like the knowledge of ordinary animals. So just like animals, right? The 4 things common between animals and humans. What are they? Eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. So all these things, even the animals do. So if we are also doing the same thing, that means we are in a mode of ignorance. So 3 kinds of action based on the modes of material nature. As for actions, that action in accordance with duty, which is performed without attachment, without love or hate, by one who has renounced fruitive activities, is called as mode of goodness. So person performing duty out of duty, like it can be taking care of parents, right? Or so somebody does, it is because it is his responsibility to take care of the old parents. So that is as a matter of duty, he does it without any results. So that is called as mode of goodness. But action performed with great effort by one seeking his gratify his senses, and which is enacted from a sense of false ego, is said to be mode of passion. So this person, maybe if his parents have a lot of property, right? So he want that. So for that he takes care, right? So that means he has some expectations, right? So that is called as mode of passion. And then mode of ignorance, and that action performed in ignorance and delusion without considering of future bondage or consequence, which inflicts injury and it is practical, is said to be action in mode of ignorance, right? So he does not he is not having either any in the duty matter of duty, nor he has any expecting any result, but he does not, he just, it is a theory and it is impractical, right? So that is called as mode of so it is something. Okay, I think, okay, this is 25. Yeah, just like we can consider like these people who are like terrorists and these people, right? The ghastly things that they are involved in. So this can be taken here. So this is actually 8.23, this is 24, and this is 25. Okay. So that was action. Now 3 kinds of workers based on mode of material nature. The worker who is free from all material attachment and false ego, who is enthusiastic and resolute, and who is indifferent to success or failure, is a worker in mode of goodness. So we need such people in our companies, right? Because they work anytime, right? They don't, it is not like I work only morning to 5, over, my job is over. If I get calls after that, I'll not pick the call. I'll work only whatever I'm paid for. So no, they're not like that. They are so much dedicated employees, and they don't mind extending themselves, right? I mean, because they see like if it is good for company, they have to do it. So that is a matter of duty, and it is so that person is said to be in mode of goodness. But that worker who is attached to the fruits of his labor and who passionately wants to enjoy them, who is greedy, envious, and impure, and moved by happiness and distress, is worker in mode of passion. Actually, in companies, we see most of them are like come under this category, right? So they will work if only there is very good appraisals, or if something is there. I mean, they need to get then only that will make them uh, work. Otherwise they will not be able to work, and they'll be mostly they cannot take the, if somebody is getting promotion, they'll be very envious, they cannot take it, they cannot appreciate the good work of others, so they are very greedy, and such people are said to be in mode of passion.
Moksha.
And that worker who is always engaged in work against the injection of scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, who is lazy, always morose, and procrastinating, is a worker in mode of ignorance. So they're not interested to go for work. Okay, they just they would. I mean, if it is Monday, then they would feel. I mean, why should I go and work? Right? They're not interested. They feel very lazy to go to work. I mean, they'll be waiting for the weekends and to enjoy their the sense enjoyment, right? So, and they're very expert. It is Krishna says here they're expert in cheating, and they're insulting others. So these are the persons in mode of ignorance. So this is Sattva Guna. So, and then Rajas. So this worker is attached to work and fruit of work, right? And then this is Tamoguna, right? They're not working. So in the office place also we see like, right, many people are into the social media and all that most of the time. So that is mode of ignorance. So three kinds of intelligence based on modes of material nature. O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done, what not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, that understanding is established in mode of goodness. So this person knows that, okay, whatever Shastra says, I have to follow. Otherwise, I will have the effects. If I don't follow, then I have to bear the consequences. So he is very much aware, and he has that belief in the scriptures. So what is to be feared, what is not to be feared, he's somebody is okay. So so that person is very much aware what is to be feared and what is not. He will not get unnecessarily into a sinful activity, because he knows if he gets involved, then he has to bear the consequences, and then also he can take a many lives to overcome those mistakes what he has done. So he is always thoughtful about his actions. So he is said to be in mode of goodness. So, and that understanding which cannot distinguish between the religious way of life and the irreligious, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, that imperfect understanding, O son of Pritha, is in mode of passion. So the people who are in mode of passion always they don't have a clear understanding. They sometimes even they feel they get tempted towards the sinful activities, though they don't do sometimes, but they do get tempted of doing it. So because they don't really think, they cannot distinguish whether that is right or that is wrong, right? They don't have proper discrimination. So that person is said to be in the mode of passion. So we know, like in mode of goodness, whatever activities we start, that is pain in the starting, right? When we start, it's painful. Like you take up, like you want to go early morning, or you want to wake up and do the exercise. So you think, but then the person gets up and he commits to himself, and he gets up and he does the exercise every day. So that is goodness. But in passion, he's not, right? He does do dreams, but he will not be able to execute it properly. So it is like it is happiness in the starting, right? So one is very fat, he thinks that he want to give up all the food habits which is make I mean unhealthy food habits. So while eating it is very good, but then in the long term what happens, he can get diseases and so many other health issues. So that is in the mode of passion. So mode of ignorance, it is bad to bad, right? It's always pain to pain. So now also it is painful, later also painful. So the person, when there is an exam, the person does not want to read, right? The student, and he wants to he is just wasting the time watching movie, TV, or some mobile games and these things, and he waste, and then again the result also he will fail, right? So it is in mode of ignorance. Three kinds of determination based on the modes of material nature. O son of Pritha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadiness by yoga practice and thus controls the mind, life, and act of sense, is in mode of goodness. So that the determination is very strong. So whatever he decides, he will do it. So whatever the problems come on his way, he is not shaken by it, right? He will do it, how much ever problem he has. That kind of control he has over his mind. So that person is said to be in mode of goodness. And just like that, like if we decide to chant, right? I have to do, okay, the acharya has given us to do the 16 rounds chanting, so I have to do it, or I have to start implementing, or I have to follow the 4 regulative principles, it can be, or getting up for the Mangal Arti session. So these things, or I have to make a habit of reading Bhagavad Gita, and making this, and is very determined, I will do it, right? And that is called. And also we can tell, like, the people who are being not missing any class, right? We are having from so many sessions now Bhagavad Gita, so it needs lot of determination, whoever are already situated in mode of goodness, because it takes determination to commit oneself for for 18-20 days, right? You, without that you cannot come to the class, right? So this is in mode of goodness. And that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive result in religion, economic, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion. So this is basically one is involved in own sense gratification. Okay, so enjoying. So that is in mode of passion. And that determination which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion. Such unintelligent determination is in the mode of darkness. So dreaming, in the sense, Prabhupada says here in purport that dreaming is required for even for a devotee, because we need everybody, every person, even in the mode of goodness, need that dreaming. To achieve something, we need to dream, right? So to achieve our goals. So, but then here dreaming is basically only the sleeping, right? So he's always most of the time sleeping, and he's in the lamentation. So that person is called as to be in unintelligent determination. That is the person who is kind of a daydreaming and never takes action, right? So this is Prabhupada. So he's so determined, right? I mean, he was so punctual in his timing. Like 6 o'clock morning, he used to meet the, he used to go for a walk and meet celebrities, and he used to give the Krishna consciousness to them. And then 8 o'clock, he used to address the people, Bhagavatam. And then around 5, he used to meet the people, it may be press or some big industrialist and these people, so that how he can promote the Krishna consciousness. And night he used to sit and write the Bhagavatam, do the translation, because Prabhupada only used to sleep from 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. And then he would wake up and write the translations, and he would complete his japa and all this. So this determination is called as mode of goodness. So 3 kinds of happiness based on the modes of material nature. That which is in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end like a nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in mode of goodness. So whatever, like in the mode of goodness, it is always poison, because it is not very easy to make, I mean, we don't have the practice of chanting, right? So now making our mind to sit in one place and for 1 hour, it is not easy. But then do it, because we know that that is the right thing. That is what Krishna is saying, and that is what spiritual master is saying. So that is good for me. That is good for my soul. If I do that in long term, it's good for me. So that is a called as, that is poison in the starting, but then it is nectar at end, right? We start to relish that taste. So because Prabhupada says that now it is like a the person who has a jaundice, right? He don't have the taste of sugarcane, but then sugarcane is the medicine. Just like that. Now for us, I mean, we to come out of that, all the anarthas that we have in our heart, right? So that we have to, and to cleanse our heart. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Yesterday we saw in Sikshastakam. So how only the Hare Krishna mantra will do it. So that, so that nectar we'll be able to realize at a later time. So that is in mode of goodness. That happiness which is derived from contact of senses with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end is said to be nature of passion. So in passion, it is always because whenever you whatever you start doing, whatever your senses ask you to do, so that initially we get that happiness, right? So you desire something, and you want to buy something, whatever, we want to buy a big house, or you want, I mean, initially we will have, but then you have to pay so much of loan, or right, everything that also comes with the so many commitments. So this is like, initially it will be very nice, but then later it is painful, and then it is mode of passion. So, and happiness which is bind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning, and which arises from beginning to end, and which arises from sleeplessness and illusion, is said to be in ignorance. So even the happiness also, that is always blind. So they never, because they are always in a body platform, they are blind to self-realization. Even if you tell them, they will not accept, right? They, I mean, for them, what is right, I mean, what is actually is as per religious, they consider that to be a wrong, right? They don't understand it. So they are always in delusion. So that is called as mode of ignorance. So this is Sattva Guna. So in purport, Prabhupada says, in the pursuit of self-realization, one has to follow many rules and regulations to control the mind and the senses, to concentrate the mind on the self. So many regulations, in the sense like it can be our controlling food habits, and we have to do like observing the ekadashis, it can be, right? These are all regulations. We are indirectly controlling our senses by actually, why is this ekadashi? It is actually controlling our senses. It will increase our willpower, because I'm not giving everything what my mind asks for, right? If I'm giving everything my mind asks for, and my senses ask for it, then it is not uncontrolled. So that means I am slave of my senses. But then when you take these ekadashis and all, it is indirectly you are controlling your mind, and you are telling the mind that I will not listen to you, you have to listen. So intelligence, we know that, right? Indriyani parani ahur. So that shloka, what it says, the senses are higher than the dead object, and the mind is higher than senses. Intelligence is higher to mind, and the soul is higher to the intelligence. So indirectly we are making the mind to listen to me, right? So that is what happens when we control the we do these regulations, follow regulations, rules and regulations. So how many ekadashis, like if you know, like 2 ekadashis in a month, right? We Prabhupada has told only 2 ekadashis in a month, and the appearance day of the acharyas, that we do. And so basically around like 40 days in a year, right? So it like on the Janmashtami and these especially on Janmashtami, I think 1 or 3 festivals we do fasting. So it is also not complete fasting. In Ekadashi, you can do with fruits also. It is not compulsory that you have to. It's only like staying away from the grains, right? So these are all for self-realization. It's very essential. So all these procedures are very difficult, right? Bitter like poison. But if one is successful in following regulations and come to the transcendental position, he begins to drink real nectar. Because then what happens? His all senses becomes so like it is just like a snake without poison, right? Now it is the senses becomes like when a snake is without poison, it cannot hurt anyone. So that our senses will be in control. It is not hurting us anymore. The mind is not disturbing me anymore because it is under my control. So then that person enjoys the life. So this is rajas. In the beginning, this may be very pleasing to sense, but at the end or after some time, it becomes poison. So the same person, so this the boy and girl, right? They get into relationship. Initially, it may be good, but then they have they could end. I mean, if it is on a because they it's good. Like I mean, if somebody is getting into relationship after if they're understanding the person, or it's always advised. Prabhupada says always marry a devotee. I mean, if there is a possibility, if somebody is really fortunate enough, they can one of them, if it is devotee, the other person also will try to make the family everyone a devotee. Then it is like a Vaikunta, right? So but then otherwise, if for sense enjoyment, if somebody is getting into relationship, then it is a problem, because initially it may be pleasing and then it is like a poison, right? So and then tamas, and that happiness which is bind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, which arises from sleeplessness. And so these are the three shlokas same, but yeah, to be in a nature of ignorance. So what are the results? You can add it up. So if you are near to 18, then that is great. Okay, near 12, if it is pick up your sleeves up, so it is still better. But then near to 6, then it is not good. If you have got just 6, then it is not good. Okay, with this, we stop here for today, and we can continue from the rest tomorrow. You call on unmute and we can chant together 3 times Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Rama
Hare,
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare,
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
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 Rama,
Hare,
Hare
Hare,
Hare
Rama, Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare,
Hare
Rama
Hare,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare
Rama
Krishna.
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, everyone.
Jai
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Jai
Hare
Shri
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Jai Shri
Krishna.
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
It was a
Hare Krishna.
wonderful class today. Learned
Oh,
a lot.
thank you so much,
Learned a
Mataji,
lot.
for your always you encourage me a lot. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I feel I should have started it much earlier. But anyway,
It's okay,
I started.
Mataji. Anytime it is fine.
Yes,
It's
yes.
really good that you got it now.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Hare
thank you.
Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Is
you.
there any questions
Really
you
good,
have?
Mataji.
Huh?
Really good.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions anyone has? You can ask. Vijay Mataji, you have any question?
No, Mataji, I want to hear the Shishtastakam from you.
Shikshastakam.
Yeah, I missed that.
Oh,
Shikshastakam.
Mataji, I can share
Cheto,
you the
Cheto.
audio.
Ah,
I'll share
Cheto,
you.
Cheto. Okay, okay. Cheto,
I'll share.
Cheto.
Cheto Darpan. Now, you want me to tell now?
Yeah, yeah, if time permits.
Only the one, first one?
Okay, okay.
Okay. Cheto, Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhavamaha Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandambudivartanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam नाम नामकारी बहुधा निज सर्वशक्ति तत्रार्पिता नियमित स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमीदृशम् इह जानिनानुरागः तृणादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानीनमानदेन कीर्तनीया सदा हरि न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरी कविता मां जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरी भवताद् भक्तिरहैतुके त्वयि अयि नन्दा तनुजा किङ्करम् पतितं मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजा स्थितधूळि सदृशं विचिन्तया नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदरुद्धया गिरा पुलकैर्निचितं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्रावृषायितं शून्या इदं जगत् सर्वं गोविन्द विरहेण मे आश्लिष्य मां पादरतां पिनष्टु माम् आदर्शनान् मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विददातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु तना एव परः हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण माताजी thank you
Very nice, very
thank
nice.
you
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you,
for
Mataji.
giving opportunity to say
I
the
like
Krishna
this very
Astakam.
much. I like
Thank
this very
you.
much. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Ridham Prabhuji, actually what happened, some of the classes I have went live on one channel and some classes I went channel on another channel by mistake. So I'm combining that and I will give you in my own ID. I'll have to add them and I'll give it. Okay. I'll give by tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you.